Welcome back. Today we are talking about 17, the star, which, again, for avoidance of breaking community guidelines or the terms of service, I have censored the card a little bit. Again, not permanently, but Sallie Nichols wants us to look at the star sort of in this framework. In recovering from the displacement and discomfort of 16, it is necessary to shed all pretense and to follow a more intuitive guidance. From the card, what she is pulling is the water imagery. This is the card that is traditionally tied to the idea of Aquarius, the water bearer, and this idea of fluidity, of intuition and sort of acceptance that comes along with the idea of sort of a river, because the river sort of carves its way through the landscape and is not subject to the opinions of the rock below it or the flora and fauna that live around it. It is what it is, and we accept it as what it is. And that we can sort of take that and apply it to our own self, that having broken down that logos-based ego self, that maybe if we are more intuitively aligned with ourselves and aware of what's going on around us, if we are a little more vulnerable, which is the naked aspect, removing all defenses, that we can in fact get a clearer and better understanding of what's actually going on. Which is beautiful, and I want to give a grain of salt that we should not just be 100% vulnerable all the time. You will get hurt in extremely damaging ways if you are fully vulnerable all the time. That's not a way to live. But if you give yourself conscious chances to be vulnerable in safe spaces where people will help you redirect yourself to get that guidance from outside of yourself, then you can build a truer version of yourself that you can then give out to the world. Hopefully that makes sense. She says at the end of this chapter something that I think is extremely important, but we do fall prey again to the fact that Sallie Nichols does not make this female figure a representation of the hero of tarot. Instead, she relegates it to the idea that it's the feminine aspect of this young male hero's psyche, which I think is garbage, and we should move away from that. But it is how it is presented in this book, so feel free to contextualize this passage in a more gender-neutral way and more as a reflection on how we can approach ourselves as humans rather than as gendered people. She writes, "He begins to realize that such acceptance is necessary for change, and is, in fact, the sole motivation for all change. He understands now how, formerly clothed in a pleasing persona and imprisoned in towering rationalizations and defenses, he not only hid his true nature from others, but from himself as well. Encapsulated as a tower dweller, he could not know who he was or where he was in relation to the elemental facts of life. Now, the energy formerly dedicated to pretense and defense is free to observe the universe more objectively and to find his true place in it." To which I responded, "We build this conception of who and what we are, but without accepting our fundamental realities in the physical realm, we cannot become ourselves." One of the key things in there, I think, is this idea about change, that accepting this change is foundational to being able to be yourself. And I think that this is another piece of evidence pointing to the idea that 15 through 19 are all sort of a story that fit together as a sort of mega unit inside of the tarot. That the change is the tower, that forceful ejection from our comfort zone, from that stagnant place. and that stagnant place is 15, the devil. And so once we accept the fact that we have been pushed out of that tower, that we no longer can just stay in our comfort zone, that's when we actually start to learn and grow. And that if we follow sort of like our intuitive feelings and become a little more vulnerable, we can get to that guidance faster and then become a truer version of ourselves rather than this construct that we have compiled over the course of time. Pretty much that's everything that I wanted to talk about in this chapter. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you in the next one. We're getting pretty close now. We only have, I think, 4 more cards. So, yikes. But it's been good, and we have some cards left. So I'll see you in the next one. Okay, love you, bye!